Wisteria, energy, twister. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Encyclopedia of Fairies, the Fair Folk. We're now on E and we're on elf locks, also called fairy locks or witches' locks. Elf locks are inexplicable tangles or mats in a person's hair that appear overnight while the person is sleeping and are believed to be caused by fairies, or in some cases, witches. They also happen to animals, particularly horses, though through modern times it has changed now where it's not so much as a knot, it's more of a braiding, and the braiding will be very different to what you're normally seeing. So, when we see plaits in people's hair and they are braided, it'll be like that, but there'll be something that distinguishes it from not being quite right, if you get what I mean. Though they will notch your hair also because they think it's rather funny. Although some modern stories try to give them a twee backstory of fairies playing in the air, older folklore attributes them to either the person or the animal being ridden at night by the fairies, or else intentional knotting by fairies, apparently as a punishment of some sort. Possibly for laziness or dirtiness. As Shakespeare put it when describing the activity of Queen Maud, that plats the manes of horses in the night, and bakes the elf locks in foul sluttish hairs. Sluttish back then was like slovenly, sloppily, It doesn't mean what you think it means back then. An essay in the Good People New Fairy Law Essays discusses an anecdote wherein a man talks about the lutin harassing his mare by tangling her mane at night. Tangles he could not undo, no matter how he tried. People who have had elf locks might be viewed as having been fairy-ridden the night before, especially if they woke up exhausted or aching, or as being influenced by the fairies in dangerous ways. In King Lear, Shakespeare alludes to an association between elf locks and madness, and there is a wide view that did connect the two. Shakespeare is the oldest English language reference to elf locks, and his use of the term implies hair that is ill-kept, and possible a person of questionable sanity. In King Lear, the character Edward, after being declared an outlaw and fleeing to the woods, says, "My face I'll grime with filth, blanket my loins, elf my hair in knots," planning to pass as a madman while in hiding. A footnote in Shakespeare's Works, Volume 5, which defines elf locks as matted or knotted hair that is a result of neglect or disease, also quotes a 1596 work by Lodge which says, "His hairs are curled and full of elves' locks, and nitty for want of combing." Both of these reinforce the connection between elf locks and a lack of grooming, as well as possible madness. Something which itself was often attributed to fairies, displeasure with a person. Aside of supernatural attention, it was very unlucky to have elf locks, but also unlucky to untangle them. There are some divided opinions about whether it was bad luck to brush them out, but allowable to work them out with the fingers. Most often they must not be cut out, as they could be both painful and distracting. People experiencing elf locks are usually advised to sleep with protective measures, particularly iron, at hand to ward off the fairies and prevent further such attention. In other European cultures, such as Italian, the prohibition about removing elf locks remains in place, but rather than being seen as a sign of ill luck or negative attention, hair knotted by the fairies is seen as a positive in various ways, even a sign as a blessing. As always, it's really important to understand that one must always look for the medical and physical explanations to be ruled out before you attribute it to fairies. That's just, a note, obviously, in case anybody's waking up with hair that's a mess and they think it's the fairies. It might not be. It may be a medical issue. Always has to put that disclaimer in there, just in case. Yeah, so that's elf locks. And like I said, through modern times it's changed a lot because way back in the folklore days it was basic knots, and I mean as in like a knot in your shoelaces, even worse than that, you know. But as time has progressed in folklore, they associate it more now to braids, but they just seem different in some way. And there has been many documented cases where, I don't know, people have woke up in the morning and their hair's been braided quite unnaturally. Even people who own horses more than often actually will say they go to the horses in the morning and their hairs, it's all been braided in a really intricate way and they can't explain it. So there's still stuff like that happens today, whether it's a fairies or not, who knows? But it is still happening, it's just not now a knot, it's braiding of any kind and knots. So it's just changed over the years. Thank you for this episode. Listen to this episode of the Fair Folk, and that is the elf locks. Probably better off saying elf knots, but yeah. Many blessings.
Wisteria, energy, twister.